Hey, what's up everybody? Jake here and welcome to the hobby. If you've been collecting Pokemon cards for a while, you probably noticed that it's kind of hard to get some Pokemon card products because everything is sold out. We're experiencing quite a period of hype right now where everything is so expensive. People are collecting left, right, and center, and card prices are spiking everywhere. But if you've been a long-time collector, you also know the Pokemon card market has actually crashed a couple of different times. And when things crash, they can crash really hard. And if you're a new collector, you probably missed out on the last couple of Pokemon card crashes, but these periods absolutely happen. But don't take it from me, take it from Deep Pocket Monster, friend of the channel, on what happened during the last big Pokemon card crash.
I lost over $1,000 because of a rookie collector mistake, all relating to this card right here. And I'm gonna tell you exactly what happened so it doesn't happen to you, and stick around to the end so I can show you just how much I lost. This is the base set Charizard holographic Pokemon card. It's the most popular and sought after card in the hobby. I bought this in October of 2020 when Pokemon was at its peak hype. Everyone was grabbing the card and I didn't have one, so naturally I wanted to get one and not feel left out. I purchased this card raw on eBay for $1,425. Then I paid a couple $100 to get it graded so it could then increase in value, hopefully, and it didn't get the grade I thought it would get. It came back a PSA 7 out of 10. By buying this on eBay, I was basically gambling. Well, although Pokemon is still popular today, this card and many cards like it have plummeted since then. This card at this grade recently sold on eBay for $365, $1 for each day I wish I didn't give into the hype. I don't even like Charizard. How sad is that? I keep this around so I can remember to only get the things I actually like and never give into the hype and have that fear of missing out.
So what happened there? He bought a raw base set Charizard for close to $1,500, got it graded at PSA. It probably took him 12 months to even get the card back from PSA. And by the time that the card got back to Deep Pocket Monster, the PSA 7 Charizard is currently going for $300 on the secondary market. He bought a raw card for $1,500, $1,400, $1,500, got it graded. When it came back, it's now worth $300 in a PSA 7. The Pokemon card market absolutely plummeted once people realized, oh, base set unlimited Charizard isn't actually that rare of a card. They printed millions of copies of these older base set unlimited cards, and there were still people in random neck of the woods that never had their cards graded or evaluated, and once there was a little bit of hype, all these cards that have been sitting around in people's attics came out of the woodwork, and it crashed the prices on cards once people realized, oh, it's not that hard to actually get a copy of Charizard, and they're readily available. So with that in mind, I put together a quick list of some tips that are easy to follow through. These are tips that I think you don't really have to think about. They're just things that should be on the back of your mind as you're collecting and purchasing Pokemon cards to just be aware of in the future. Before we get started with these tips, I would also like to thank the Collector app for sponsoring today's video. If you'd like to track your whole entire collection, I highly recommend you try out the Collector app. They are a fantastic tool that I think any collector should have inside of their back pocket. It is an easy to use app for tracking your whole entire Pokemon card collection, and they will let you know immediately as your collection starts to dip what cards are crashing inside of your collection, what cards are going up. You can follow market trends with ease without ever having to lift a finger. Collector is super easy to use, and they have a very strong, robust community. Lots of other major content creators also use the Collector app, including both me and Deep Pocket Monster. Check out our whole entire collection showcase on the Collector app today. Collector makes it super easy to track and manage your collection. I highly recommend it. You'll never look back. My first tip for protecting yourself during the next Pokemon card market crash is to only spend what you're willing to lose when it comes to Pokemon card collecting. Pokemon card collecting is a luxury hobby. That means you're putting yourself into a place where you're spending expendable income on something that you enjoy. Do not put money that is allocated to rent, food, education, or other necessities into Pokemon card collecting. I personally have a full-time job. I work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and I have a 401k. In general, my life will be completely fine if the Pokemon card market crashed. It does not impact our life in any meaningful way, whether my Pokemon card collection is worth 0 or 100k, because that was money that I specifically set aside for Pokemon card collecting. It was money that I set aside specifically for the joy of my hobby. It does not impact my livelihood in any way. My second tip for protecting yourself during the next Pokemon card market crash is to diversify your collection. I have a very robust Pokemon card collection whether it comes to graded Pokemon cards, sealed products, Japanese, English, modern, vintage. I have a little bit of everything. There are definitely areas that I collect more than others just because I enjoy some of those areas, just like Pikachu promo cards. I really like Pikachu promo cards. I also like collecting certain sealed products, but in general, my collection is very robust. The next time that the Pokemon card market crash, most likely it's going to impact some areas more than others. What we've seen over the past 6 months is a lot of modern Pokemon cards, modern illustration rares, have started to decrease in value. A lot of them simply aren't that rare or special, and as people rip open more and more booster packs, the prices on some of these modern illustration rares have started to plummet over the last 3 or 4 months. And what we're seeing right now is that vintage Pokemon card prices are starting to climb as people return to some cards that actually are truly rare and hard to find. But what that has done is that while the illustration rares inside of my collection has gone down in value, a lot of the vintage cards inside of my collection has gone up in value. So in general, regardless whether certain cards are going up and down, in the more broader scheme of my whole entire collection, my larger collection really isn't impacted by these daily movers as much as people might think. Some cards may go up, some cards may go down, but in general, my whole entire collection is just seeing small little ripples in the market rather than seeing some giant wave that you might see if you're collecting in a very, very niche area. If your whole entire collection is made up of vintage, or if your whole entire collection is made up of only modern illustration rares, you're going to see much wider market swings if anything were to happen in those specific spheres of collecting. My third tip is to track fundamentals rather than focusing on hype. There are many Pokemon cards out there that have been climbing in value because of hype rather than the true fundamentals of how collectible they are. An example of this would be the Persian inside of Shrouded Fable. This card climbed significantly over the course of multiple months because of the Glory of Team Rocket hype. A lot of people were excited about the return of Team Rocket. A lot of Team Rocket cards started climbing in value, and that was a climb due to hype rather than fundamentals. The Persian is a really, really gorgeous card. But was it really ever meant to be an $80 card, $90, $100 card? It really wasn't meant to be there yet. It's still a very new card. There are still tons of people opening up Shrouded Fable. It was never going to reach a world where it made sense for this card to be a $100 plus card, but that's where it was starting to climb when there was hype around the Glory of Team Rocket and the return of Destined Rivals. So once that hype imploded, the prices on the Persian illustration rare dropped significantly. So what I mean is to focus on Pokemon cards that you believe are intrinsically valuable. These are cool Pokemon cards that are cool by their very nature rather than experiencing any specific periods of hype. And you can see that in the market is that there are cards that are climbing right now and are appreciated by the larger collecting sphere because of how cool the individual card is rather than any experiential hype that we're seeing in the market. My fourth tip is to take profits on the way up. Pokemon card collecting does not mean Pokemon card hoarding. Lots of people will collect Pokemon cards, but will also sell off or trade some pieces of their collection to get other pieces. And I have made many sales over the past 10 years of Pokemon card collecting to make meaningful changes in my life. What that means is I've sold off cards inside of my collection to pay off my student loan. I've sold off cards inside of my collection to make a down payment and to be able to purchase a new home for my family. These are the kind of purchases or sales that I've done in Pokemon card collecting that I've been able to make meaningful changes in my life. Pokemon card collecting does not mean Pokemon card hoarding. It is very normal to sell off cards or to trade cards with other collectors and make those meaningful connections in the hobby. You're in the hobby with other people. You do not have to go through your collecting journey alone. For example, I made a sale to another collector 3 years ago, and because I made this one sale with this one collector, it's made a meaningful difference in my life where we've stayed connected as friends, as fellow collectors, and he's helped me with so many other deals that because simply selling one card to that one other collector, I've made a meaningful connection that has given me so much more rewarding experiences down the line. So I highly recommend you do this, is build connections in the hobby. You do not have to go through the journey of collecting Pokemon cards by yourself. My final tip for protecting yourself during the next Pokemon card market crash is to stay educated and informed. That could mean anything from watching this channel, listening to the Card Lounge podcast, or downloading the Collector app. Whatever method that you use to stay connected and informed in the hobby, I recommend you keep doing some level of that. It doesn't mean you should exit the hobby completely, and it doesn't mean you should listen to every single talking head that you want to. But you should have some level of informity in the hobby so that you can recognize when some cards are going up and whether the market is crashing or not. You should have some level of spidey sense or cue that something is happening in the hobby right now. Pokemon card collecting has just moved at such a rapid pace that whenever there is a single piece of news drop, everyone is immediately informed of it. So I don't think you need to stay significantly informed in the hobby, but you should stay connected to the community in a certain way so that if there is something happening, if there is a wave of change in the hobby, you should be informed of that immediately. And there are so many cases where people made poor decisions because they weren't informed. For example, if your first time collecting Pokemon cards was 3 months ago during the peak of the illustration rare hype, very likely you may have purchased some illustration rares at their all-time peak prices. And you wouldn't be able to really stop that because you're a brand new Pokemon card collector and you just haven't built up that level of historical information to recognize that some of those illustration rares used to be significantly cheaper just a couple weeks before that. So that's an example of staying informed in the hobby, is simply by being around in the hobby, you can recognize some basic information such as, oh, illustration rares used to be way cheaper. They're currently 400% higher than what they used to be a couple weeks ago. I probably should stay away from that market. If you're a brand new collector, you simply wouldn't have been able to build up that level of knowledge to recognize that some of those cards used to be way cheaper. So stay informed out there and only collect cards that you really, really like. Focus on the fundamentals of Pokemon card collecting, and I think you'll be very safe during the next Pokemon card market crash. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.